Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr. This is episode 268 of CryptoBiography, and it is part 5 of The Smallest Magician. And here we go. They started that night. Master Donaghal actually insisted that she take his book and copy every word. This, of course, took a long time, but without having to work under the pressure of needing to return it, she got through it in a couple of days. With better light to work with, and the reduced pressure, she tried to actually read it as she copied it. She felt a few fleeting moments of understanding, but really did not get very far. When she had finished copying the work, she brought it back to him. He asked her to please get him some food while he looked it over. She did so, thinking about the please all the time. And when she came back, he looked up at her. This looks excellent. Canna made it, she said, putting the plate of mixed olives, meats, and cheeses down. I meant your copy. Oh, thank you, Master. Read the first page to me. She did so, feeling rather lost the whole time. She could pronounce the words and even comprehend most of them, but they didn't add up to understanding, even though she had now read these very sentences multiple times. So, your reading and writing have come along well. Thank you, Master, but I don't really understand what I read. Understanding will come. He put his book on a stand on his desk, then took the first page of her copy and handed it to her. Do you understand the idea of energy? No. Well, no one fully understands it, so don't feel bad about that. But it is basically the fact that things happen. So, fire burns, wind blows, rain falls, and so on. Magic is another form of energy, or so I hypothesize. Energy can be happening, but it can also be waiting. He looked over at her. She could tell she looked confused because he clarified. A piece of wood may burn, but it is not burning all the time, right? Sometimes it waits on the woodpile. She nodded. So, on the woodpile, it is waiting. The energy is only happening when it is in the fire. Okay. But it is energy all the same. The happening is important, but it is not everything. She wasn't sure about this, so she said nothing. Let me put it this way, he said. He went into a drawer and took out 2 unburnt candles. He held them up in front of her side by side. Now, these candles may not be perfectly alike, but let's say they are. Emby nodded. Further, let's say that once lit, assuming nothing unusual happens, like one candle being knocked over, both will give off the same amount of light and heat, and both will burn for the same length of time. So, he continued, bending down and placing one on the floor, let's mix things up a bit. He took the other one and put it on his highest bookshelf. Which has more energy now? Emby thought she saw a trick question. Still the same? I'm afraid not. He tipped the one off the shelf with a gentle nudge from his finger. It fell to the ground and hit with a crack, breaking nearly in 2 except for the wick, which held the pieces together. What just happened? You broke the candle. Did I? Yes. Well, in one sense, yes. I pushed the candle in a way that it fell off the shelf. But the fall and the hardness of the floor broke the candle, right? He took his finger and pushed her shoulder gently with the same slight nudge he had given the candle. Right. So, what happens when I nudge the candle that I put on the floor originally? He did so, and Emby giggled a little, seeing the candle roll a half-turn and stop rather pathetically. But she stopped giggling when he turned his face back to her, eyebrows raised in a question. It didn't break? Right. So which candle had more energy? The top candle. Correct. So energy can be active, as when the candle gets pushed and then falls and breaks, or it can be waiting, as when the candle is high on the shelf. Magic? Well, magic isn't quite everywhere, but it is in many places. You do not conjure the magic from within yourself. Instead, you're a cat, knocking candles off shelves in ways that get you what you want. You have the ability to see the magic. That will be the first talent we need you to strengthen. After that, you'll be able to see the magic in the world. Once you see that, Then you'll be able to accomplish things you never thought possible. He picked up the broken candle with both hands. The wick was clearly visible between the two halves. His eyes unfocused for just a moment. Then she saw them snap back into focus, intently staring at the wick. The wax softened and melted and joined the two halves. Despite him holding the candle horizontally, the wax did not drip down at all. It was more as though the halves were healing like a wound, or perhaps undoing the damage from the fall. Donaghal held the candle out to her. I'm pleased by the results. I doubt you'll be able to tell where it was once broken. She held the candle and looked at it closely. If there was any sign of the break, she couldn't find it. No, it's whole again. Take it. I won't have my apprentice short of light. If you ever need candles, quills, ink, or paper, you have but to ask. Thank you, Master. But don't burn this candle. Not yet. Tonight, you have your first magical assignment. You need to draw out your ability to see magic. Magic is all around the world, all around us. I can point to a dozen places in this room where you could get at least a hint of magic. But when magic is performed, it glows magically. For a very long time in the case of powerful magic. For minor magic, as this candle experienced, a short time, just a few hours. Go to your room, make it as dark as you can. Look at the candle, but don't look exactly at it like you would a physical object. Look as though you hope to look through it. When you see the magic, you'll know. And that's the end of the story for this week. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying writing it, although this week was very busy with my other podcast and 7.1 and all that good stuff. If you follow the UtiniCast, you know what I'm talking about. And if not, that's fine. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, CryptoBiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And thanks for listening. Words and music copyright 2022 CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.